Versus Kamala face off in 2028 for the Democratic nominee. Also, the FBI thwarted a New Year's Eve attack that was planned to happen here in Southern California. And also, to end on a light note this evening, we're going to talk about what do Californians do with all of their spare time because they did a study and found out all that and more on tonight's episode of the California Underground starting right now. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the California Underground. I am your host, Phil. Tonight is the last night of last show of the year for us. We got a lot to talk about, including a terrorist attack that was thwarted by the FBI, and Gavin Newsom and Kamala might be facing off, and we'll see how that goes, California versus California. But before we begin, if you're tuning in live, make sure you hang out in the chat. Let us know what your thoughts are. We love to see people live in the chat. And also, if you can subscribe, like, share, all that stuff helps with the algorithm. And as always, joining me, my trusty co-host, the best, the fastest researcher in the West, Camille. What's going on, Camille?
Not much. Getting ready for Christmas. It doesn't look like it behind me, but there's like 7 boxes where I'm still trying to find my stockings. So, really quick question for you and the chat.
Yep.
Holiday foods. Do you guys have a favorite that you like make every year? Do you have like a family meal? You and your wife do something? And also the questions for you guys in the chat. Share. Give us ideas. I'm not really a foodie, but I actually do love food. But I'm always open to new things. So Phil, you, and then anyone in the chat.
That's tough.
Okay.
We may have to come back to it at the end of the show.
I will point out you did start making eggnog a couple weeks ago. So
I did. I made boozy eggnog. It's been aging. It has 3 types of alcohol: bourbon, rum, and brandy, and it's delicious. We made a whole bunch of it, and we've been giving out to people, and people love it. So, but speaking of Christmas,
never tried eggnog. Okay, sorry, continue.
Someone said ribeye. Ribeye is a great choice for any time of day or any occasion. So, big announcement for Christmas, because we will be taking these next 2 weeks off because of the holidays. We won't be back until 2026. That's why I said this is our last episode or last show of the year. We threw a little Christmas present for everybody in the chat. I pinned the link. If you go there, we're giving away 2 weeks free to the members only Telegram. So that way you can keep up with us. Camille and I will still be posting plenty of California news and thoughts. And we have been posting stuff that may be cultural as well, like national politics. Like we're just like, we're discussing what was the story today about Trump and his chief of staff kind of throwing everybody under the bus. That was the story. Stories about Candace Owens and all that crazy stuff. So the stuff we don't get to here on the show, we're doing a lot of that in the Telegram. And since we won't be around for 2 weeks of doing the show, it's free for 2 weeks. So go in there, click on the link, choose the Christmas trial option. It'll give you 2 weeks. I don't think it requires you to give a card or anything like that. So go ahead, try it out. Hopefully we see all you guys so that way we stay connected. There'll still be content being posted on the YouTube channel. We just won't be doing the live show for the next couple weeks. So it's pretty usual for a lot of places anyway. So looks like the chat, greetings from San Diego. What's up, San Diego, East Lake, California? Let us know in the chat. We love to hear wherever you're tuning in from, California or the rest of the country or the world, possibly. So, all right, let's get into our first story of the night. This kind of came out of nowhere. This story broke a couple of days ago. There was a terrorist plot, a domestic terrorist plot by a far left radical group where we're going to discuss, we're going to inform you everything about them and who they are. They're the Turtle Island Liberation Front, TILF for short. They were thwarted because they planned a huge attack on Southern California. So it was parts of LA, parts of Orange County, for New Year's Eve. So they were planning this big attack, and the FBI, I know whatever you think about Bondi or Kash Patel, about the Epstein files, well, they did get this right. So they did get this right, and they did thwart this. So let's watch that video right now, and we'll discuss afterwards and dive into who these people are, and, well, how kooky they really are.
A terror takedown. Prosecutors have charged 4 members of an alleged extremist group accused of plotting New Year's Eve bombings in California.
Eyewitness News reporter Carlos Grande is live in Westwood with new details from this morning's news conference. Carlos.
Well, that's right. Federal authorities say they stopped a New Year's Eve terror plot involving Southern California, and 4 people are now under arrest. The FBI says the suspects had a plan to carry out simultaneous bombings on New Year's Eve using backpacks rigged with improvised explosive devices. Now, here you see some surveillance video. Officials say it's the suspects as they plan to build and test the bombs. This was in Lucerne Valley, and shortly after this video was taken, the suspects were arrested. Now, they're allegedly part of a group called the Turtle Island Liberation Front, and they're identified as Audrey Carroll, Zachary Page, Tina Lay, and Dante Gaffield. Officials would not release any information about the target locations, only saying that they are logistics companies engaged in interstate and commerce. Now, investigators are also looking into online activity connected to the case. An Instagram account known as the Turtle Liberation publicly posted content advocating violence against U.S. officials. And according to the FBI, a recent post called for a revolution and urged supporters to organize and be ready. Officials say they also found items that said, "Death to America" and "Long live Palestine."
These bombs were to blow up at the same time on midnight this New Year's Eve. The plan stated that the IEDs would be complex pipe bombs. It included instructions on how to manufacture the bombs and contained guidance on how to avoid leaving evidence behind that could be traced back to them.
Now, officials say there are more members to this group, but they believe they have arrested all of those who were specifically involved in this New Year's Eve plot. The suspects are expected to make their first appearance in court sometime this afternoon. Reporting live from Westwood, I'm Carlos Grande, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
All right. So there was this domestic terror plot for New Year's Eve. And, this is kind of crazy. This is happening. They're not connected. As far as we know, they're not connected to what happened in Bondi Beach, which was also a terrible terrorist attack. Rise of terrorist attacks recently.
Yeah, it was
Not a trend that
hard week, rough week.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of terrorist attacks coming back. Like maybe I'm nostalgic for like Avicii Levels coming back in style, but like not terrorist attacks. So I'm gonna pull up this article because it goes into a little bit more about this group. So let's pull this up right now. Sorry, it takes a little second here. And all right. So this is from the New York Post. What is Turtle Island Liberation Front, the extremist anti-government group whose offshoot planned a New Year's Eve terror attack? Let's see. This is a video. We're going to get into that in a little bit. The Turtle Island Liberation Front, a little-known, quote, pro-Palestine, anti-law enforcement, and anti-government extremist group, has quietly been raising funds and resources to usher in a revolutionary change in government. I bet you're going to find out who's been giving these people money, because if you're funding these people and it turns out they're domestic terrorists, I don't think the FBI is going to take too kindly to it, especially Bill O'Saley, who is the U.S. attorney, pseudo U.S. attorney. He's not technically the U.S. attorney. He's the highest ranking prosecutor in the federal prosecutor's office in the Central District. Quote, TILF also calls for the working class to rise up and fight back against capitalism, an FBI affidavit noted. Moreover, TILF advocates that liberalism and peaceful protest will be the downfall of those who believe it is enough and that direct action is the only way. What does Turtle Island come from? In case you're wondering, what the hell does Turtle Island mean? It's an indigenous term, particularly among the, I am going to butcher the heck out of this name, so apologies to whoever these tribes are, Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee. I think that sounds pretty close. For the continent of North America, it stems from tales about the continent being built on the back of a giant turtle. There's one of their posts right there. Resistance is the deepest form of love. That name, which predates the U.S., dovetails with the extremist group's goals of eliminating America, which it feels is illegitimate. TILF has taken the concept to the extreme while mixing a push for decolonization of North America and of Israel. So not just North America. Its members have used phrases such as "from Turtle Island to Palestine, occupation is a crime" to convey that mix. When we say "death to America" and call for an end to colonization, it doesn't mean the displacement or harm of non-indigenous citizens. And then talks about how they shouted out "death to ICE." Here's the people again. Members of the splinter group handed an 8-page memo on Operation Midnight Sun. I feel like these people are like LARPing to be terrorists, to be completely
I was
honest.
going to say that because I don't want to take this lightly, but when I was reading this article, I do feel like it to me just sounds like teenagers who were asked to like write the plot to a terrorist attack movie, and this is what they came up with.
Right. 4 members of the Order of the Black Lotus, Audrey Elaine Carroll, Zachary Aaron Page, Dante Garfield, and Tina Lay, were charged with possession of an unregistered destructive device and conspiracy. And there's a 5th suspect who has not yet been identified. Both Carroll and Page have been contemplating follow-up attacks, such as targeting immigration and customs enforcement agents with pipe bombs, hoping it would, quote, make some of them out and scare the rest. Would take some of them out and scare the rest, per the complaint. Quote, I kind of had this notebook where I wrote down multiple plans that never happened or got delayed. So it's like my terrorist diary, LMAO. I have to get rid of that. Wrote in a signal exchange with the FBI source. So it sounds like someone was working on the inside for the FBI with this. What are your initial thoughts of this before we go check them out firsthand?
A couple thoughts. One, there is a part of me that kind of wishes I didn't know this. I think because Orange County is relatively safe, nothing big ever happens here, and which maybe because they keep stopping it, but like I like my safe Orange County bubble, and so now it's like I know that this could have possibly happened, and I'm very grateful it was stopped. But there is this part of me that's like maybe I liked not knowing about it. This group confuses me. Like we just discussed, like you said, they seem like they're just LARPing. Like it really does feel like some role-playing game where because part of it feels so amateurish, but they were serious. I mean, there's a video of them out like testing things in the desert and stuff. But I'm confused at all their beliefs because it just feels like they just hate everyone. They're anti-government. And you and I get that, but we're not kill the government. We're just sort of fire the government. Let's have less of them. We don't want to hurt anybody.
Right.
But then they're anti-capitalism, and capitalism is often the left is like the enemy of the government. And so I'm like, whose side are you on here? Nobody. They just seem angry and they just want to take everyone and anything down. So those are my initial thoughts.
They're like if you put into AI like create the most radical leftist, like this is what it feels like. Like it feels like they want destruction to Israel and America, and their reasoning is because of colonization, and they want to decolonize America, and because this is stolen land, and like they're the people who are like, we have to acknowledge we're standing on stolen land, which always makes me laugh, the whole stolen land idea.
Right.
But yes. So that it does feel kind of amateurish. It doesn't seem like they are these highly sophisticated terrorists. This is probably something the FBI easily cracked in on. Just goes to show you that feds are everywhere, which is kind of scary, is that they snuck into this group and infiltrated this group. But somehow there was an informant on the inside. So I want to go to the actual source material for them so we can get a better idea straight from their mouth about what they believe. And we're going to watch some of the videos and then we'll comment on them as well. So this is from the Turtle Island Liberation Front LA. Here's a video right here. Let's see what she has to say. This lovely young lady with whatever this thing is on her head.
People are learning Palestine is the true name of Israel, right? Israel was a creation in 1946 by these Zionists. It's the same with Turtle Island. That was what the original tribes on the Americas, before it was called America, it was known as Turtle Island. Because believe it or not, if you look at the map, rather from the top down, but the bottom up, you flip that map of the Americas, it looks like a turtle. And so that's what the natives called it, was Turtle Island. So that's the decolonized name of the Americas. And Turtle Island Liberation is looking for reparations and land back for these indigenous groups in which the land was usurped. Many people think it's so far removed, but I have many comrades who are Native American and have stories of just their great-grandmother, being put in residential schools. It's still impacting the most recent generations. It's not as removed as people think. So, land back today, for tomorrow, and forever. Land back.
Okay.
That
was a whole bunch of gobbledygook that I didn't really understand.
Did the Native Americans have drones so they were able to see that it was shaped like a turtle?
Yeah, that was a good question. Like, how did the Native Americans know that North America was shaped like I guess they mapped it up. I don't know. Maybe they mapped it out by sail, but did all Native Americans understand sail? I don't know. I don't know how they got through the whole Turtle Island thing.
I am no history expert, especially of Native Americans, but they had their tribes throughout the Americas. But as far as I know, most of them were enemies and kind of kept their distance. And so I tried to picture them all coming together to create this map. Not the point of the subject, but this Turtle Island thing, it just feels like one of those kind of like wives' tales myths that's been passed down maybe, or wasn't even passed down, just kind of came about at some point. Because they're like, this is why. And I'm like, they didn't have like aerial views a few hundred years ago.
And I don't know the history of Native Americans, whether they were sailing around the entire continent of North America to know how to map all of North America. So
let us know in the chat.
I don't know.
Maybe I just asked a really dumb question. But
maybe people in the chat know how they understood it was Turtle Island. But there was so many things in there. Like, her points are all over the place. Again, to the point that like these are radicals who are basically like AI parody spoofs of a radical leftist. They jump from like Native Americans to comrades to Free Palestine to Israel to Death to Israel to all of this stuff. And it's like, these are real people. These are real people who thankfully were not successful in bombing any of these places or hurting anybody, but they've been radicalized somehow by these groups. This is a larger organization, the Turtle Island, whatever you call it, Liberation Front. This is just the LA chapter, what we're looking at right now. So this is the group that has been thwarted. So there's some more video on there as well. This is another, I don't know what this is. This is, I'm sorry about that. If they hurt you, they hurt me too. Our destinies are intertwined. Liberation for one must mean liberation for all. The empire must fall, and from within the belly of the beast, we must be the ones to dismantle it. Revolution is the only way. Stop peaceful protesting. Rise up, fight back. We are outnumbered. They are organized, and be ready.
We're pretty
again with
liberated.
AI. You don't have to. You don't have to have these types of like drawings. You can get like AI to draw these drawings. So that is some. I don't know. I mean.
Special.
It's special. Here's a picture of them protesting. Oh, maybe not. There was a good picture of them. So you can see it right here. Death to ICE. I think it has, that's Trump in the background, something in Arabic. The funniest thing I do want to show about this is if you look at the comments are cracking me up. Are you in jail now? Lock them up. This is the Goodfellas scare where they're laughing at him. Why don't you all move to the Eastern Hemisphere instead of continuing to live on, quote, stolen land? Have fun in Fed prison. Delulu of the First Order. Bring back mental institutions. This one of 50 Cent laughing and driving off. Wow, the insanity is real. This is not the engagement I think they were planning when they opened this account. Oh, here's your question. Do the natives have a satellite that allowed them to look at the continent upside down? Is there any reply that tells us? Literally what I was thinking, that's just one of the many things she said, which is absurdly wrong or a lie. Uh, as a native, this is generalized information that is not true. It's misleading overall. We are not grouped with Palestine whatsoever. Some tribes called North America Turtle Island is not because of the shape, but the story of how the land formed, which was on the back of a turtle. He held the world up so that he could live on this land. This is summarized because I'm not going to sit here and tell you the whole story. In addition, only a few tribes carried these stories. Most did not, such as my people, which is the three different nations of people. We all had different stories on how North America was created, some of them sharing similar stories and some very different. There you go. So
Okay.
it has nothing to do with them knowing that it looks like an island. It's just they believed that that's how the world was formed, was on the back of an island. Um, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle eyes don't lie. She's a turtle. Uh, all right. There was another video I wanted to show as well. Let's see if I can find it. Is there? I don't know. I think that was the best video we had. Oh, here we go. This one is real cringe. So buckle up. Okay. Tough
You know what's really
guys.
sad about that? Is that
What?
when whoever created that, they were like, "Oh, that's fire." Like, "Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's fire. We killed it,
we
guys.
nailed it."
Again, with a little bit of gumption, a little bit of work, your content doesn't have to look this bad. Like it was created in the '90s. Like you could do good content if you actually took the time to do it. Call to action: the bloody war criminals known as the Albit systems are planning to install their AI into the Koreatown neighborhoods of Los Angeles. We cannot allow this. Join us in protest against these genocidal monsters. Wear block with kafeve. If is that the thing on their head? I guess kafeye, and if you have one, and bring Palestinian flags. December 3rd, 9 a.m.
They
All
just
right,
wake up angry. They literally are like, "Today, we're gonna protest this. Saw
we're
this
gonna
on
protest
Twitter,
this.
and I don't like it, so, show up."
Yeah, it also the this always makes me laugh because she was holding in the first video, that lady was holding the Mexican flag. And anybody who knows like Californian history knows that they always say, oh, it's stolen land. California is stolen land from Mexico. No, there was a war, there was a conflict. America won, and then we even paid $15 million for California. Now, maybe that was a bargain, and maybe Mexico should have bargained better for all the land that they gave up. Stolen, though, is quite a stretch when
We
you
also
win a
offered
war.
citizenship to
And
them.
yeah, so it wasn't stolen in the sense that Americans just showed up and were like, it's ours now. So yeah, it's ours now. Sorry, Mexico. Like there was a conflict and they couldn't keep up with it. The Mexican economy was worried they couldn't keep up with the war because it was costing them too much money to fight America. And they surrendered. That's the Treaty of Guadalupe, I believe it is. My history is correct. So, all right. So that's the Turtle Island Liberation Front. I don't know if people feel better knowing that like that's who was behind this or worse. Like, I don't know. Let me know in the chat if you feel like they probably would have never gotten anything off the ground based on their Instagram and their stories and how they think. Maybe that helps you sleep better at night, knowing these like LARPing far leftists don't really have a clue. They're not well organized. It is kind of scary though that the FBI did have to go in and thwart them and stop them from planting bombs in Southern California, because it would be a tragedy if even like one life was harmed because of these crazies. And yeah, so what are your thoughts on the Turtle Island Liberation Front? Do you think they're going to rise to the level of like Antifa in terms of influence in America, or do you think this is
I
it for
think that
Turtle Island
they're
Liberation Front?
possibly ended here. I do think if if they had been able to carry out anything, it would have been like, I'm sure some things would have gone not to, you say the word better in the sense of better as far as accomplishing what they wanted to accomplish. I feel like it would have been so chaotic that they would have had like a few duds, but then a few successes. So, of course, I'm grateful. Okay. I feel like I'm becoming like a conspiracy theorist, and I apologize for my voice. My sinuses are always jacked up. Um, there is a part of me that's like, what? And I don't do this, okay? But I'm doing it. What is the FBI trying to distract us from that they're bringing this up? Because again, this feels so
Mm.
amateurish to me that I feel like they're giving us, like, they're trying to give us something on a plate, like, look, we're doing things, we're accomplishing things. But I'm like, what is actually going on that you're not in the background, behind the scenes, bigger groups that you're like not able to figure out or whatever? If I'm sorry if I'm not making sense. I just feel like they wanted to give us a little cookie to like appease us of like, see, we do things.
Hmm. Actually, someone brought this up. This is interesting fact that I learned when I visited Mexico City is that there were U.S. troops who made it all the way to Mexico City. Um, and there is a castle in Mexico City. Fun fact, there was a castle because there was a emperor of Mexico for a little bit. He was actually Austrian. They brought him in, and it was the idea of it was Napoleon's, not the original Napoleon, like Napoleon's great nephew sent an Austrian to Mexico to try and influence Mexico to be a part of like the French Empire. And there was a castle, and then the US troops made it all the way down to this castle. It wasn't for the emperor anymore. It was like a training base for troops at that time. It's kind of like their West Point. But I had never heard of that, and I was surprised when I toured that castle and they talked about the story about how US troops showed up and actually attacked the castle. I was like, wow, I didn't know US troops actually made it all the way to Mexico City.
Yeah, that's pretty
My
far.
understanding was the fight was basically right around Texas, not anywhere close to Mexico City. But yeah, they made it all the way to all the way down to Mexico City. So, um, I yeah, your conspiracy theory might be well founded. Maybe they're just trying to show that they're doing something. I mean, stuff like this, conspiracy theories, terrorist groups, it's always a nice big win. It's a good press conference to show that you're on the case. It does make you feel a little bit better, especially with how much people have not been trusting Pam Bondi, Cash Patel. I wouldn't say Bill O'Salley. I think Bill O'Salley has been doing like a rock star job up in LA, like just absolutely exposing so much corruption when it comes to homelessness and the funds and all the corruption that's going on up there. Um, so maybe it's just nice that they got a little win, and FBI was all excited that they wanted to tell everybody they got this win. Of course, there's a lot of other things going on out there in the world that I'm sure the FBI is involved in, but it is nice, I think, maybe a little bit comforting to know that the FBI is on this stuff and they are still looking out for terrorism. Another thing that was interesting was, I don't know if this is connected to, there was an executive order signed by President Trump earlier this year where he labeled groups like Antifa domestic terrorists. So once you label them domestic terrorists, then all of a sudden that expands the power of the law enforcement that can go after these groups and how they can kind of infiltrate and break up these groups. So I wonder if that was part of this, was this executive order that kind of expanded the power of the FBI to go out and find these domestic terrorist groups, infiltrate them, break them up, and kind of crack down on them. So who knows? Maybe that executive order ended up working in the end. Maybe not for Antifa, but Turtle Island Liberation Front. It's too long of a name. I'm sorry. For marketing
Chill.
purposes, it's too long of a it's too confusing. People are like, what the hell is Turtle Island? I don't get it. So maybe this is the end of Turtle Island Liberation Front. Maybe it isn't. Maybe this is just the beginning. Maybe this is the best recruiting tool they could get, is these people will be martyrs, and martyrs in the sense they'll go to prison and they'll be like jailed martyrs. Hopefully not other type of martyrs, but maybe more people will join and there'll be more stories. Hopefully not. I really hope there isn't. So any other thoughts on Turtle Island Liberation Front before we move on to our next story?
Yeah, real quick, going
Sure.
back to Palestine.
Yeah.
Right now the big thing is free Palestine, but there's so many these alleged bomb threats, these terrorist groups, rallies, shootings, a lot of violence over the free Palestine thing. And I'm just going back to like 25 years ago ish when the big thing was free Tibet, but I don't remember everyone getting violent over it. I also don't know that they ever really freed Tibet. My sister was living in Tibet at the time, so this is kind of like not not that it makes me an expert, but I was paying attention to it because it was a big deal, and my sister lived there. Um, I just wonder why the Palestine thing has become so violent and polarizing. And Tibet was like a huge deal, but it people didn't get violent over it, or at least it's not here as far as I know. We weren't having these, like, mass shootings and threats and bombings and, like, separation of people over Tibet. So it's just kinda the difference is interesting to me.
It's like I said, it's like if you put into AI a radical leftist, this is what you would get. You'd get someone who's free Palestine, decolonized, stolen land, holding a Palestine and a Mexican flag, all that stuff. Um, and it's true; these are real people. This is not AI. So we'll keep an eye on the Turtle Island Liberation Front and see if they come back around. But for now, you can sleep easy. The Turtle Island Liberation Front has been thwarted for now. So, all right. Next story. If Gavin Newsom thought he was going to skate to being the Democratic nominee, our old friend Kamala Harris might say not so fast.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Yep. She might say, not so fast, Gavin. I'm thinking about running. That's been happening this past week. Axios reported, I think like PBS has reported that there are rumors that Kamala now is considering a 2028 run, which might throw a little wrench in Gavin's road, maybe make it a little bit more bumpy. I still imagine Gavin would win, but might make it a little bit more bumpy if Kamala is in the race. So here's a clip from a local news source who does this polling, and we're gonna watch it, and then we'll talk about it.
If you were Kamala Harris's advisor, having run in 2020, dropping out early, then last year that didn't go well. Is this something she's possibly pushing, or are people saying you can run and win?
Well, I would always be wary if I was her of taking advice from me, but I would say, look, I tend to think this is being driven by her.
Okay.
I really doubt that there's too many people that are strongly encouraging her one way or the other. I know many people who do know her well, and she plays a lot of things very close to the vest. I would tend to think this is something that the sting of last year in particular has not worn off, and so I would be very surprised if this wasn't being something driven by her.
Based on that poll right there, that's the most recent one from September. She would have a Gavin Newsom problem. As it sits right now, they're going to have to work that out. And you would think that Newsom is moving in that direction, which takes me to my next question for you. The latest Emerson College poll, if Newsom becomes the nominee, and he seems to be kind of moving in that direction more.
I want to pause here because we always say this on this show. 3 years from now is like an eternity in politics, and people love a comeback story. I mean, you had President Trump who lost the presidential election, came back and won handedly the next time. Ronald Reagan, when he first tried to run for president, didn't do so well. So people love a comeback story, and 3 years in our short attention span with all of the news that we're inundated with is not crazy to think people will forget this sting. And also there might be enough people who go, you know what, she wasn't given a fair shake. She was thrown in. She had 100 days to run a campaign against President Trump, who already had set everything up. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that she thinks she can run.
Right.
So
Right. We love a downfall.
More so now.
Sorry, I was
Yeah.
like to your point. We love a downfall and we love a comeback. We do. And totally
Mhm.
unrelated, but the gentleman on the right sounds like he could be Senator Scott Wiener's father.
I haven't noticed that. Now you're gonna make me think, but
Yeah.
it could be.
Notice.
Getting out in front nationally. If he were to get the nomination, and he's comfortably ahead of Harris right now, nobody else seems to be close, a matchup with Gavin Newsom versus J.D. Vance. Vance at 46, Newsom 45%. This poll is fresh from Emerson. Anything you can take from that, or the fact that they're that close, means what?
It's really hard to determine exactly what that means, because I think at this point, obviously everything is still very speculative as to, who would be in this race. I think what it really shows is, okay, so the power of incumbency is really strong.
Now I can't unhear it. That
Yeah,
it sounds
sorry.
like Scott Wiener's dad. Yeah.
Is really strong here. But Gavin has made tremendous strides in the last few months. This anti-Trump trolling thing he's done has shown a lot of younger people in particular that he'll fight. And it's the thing that we've seen, in New York City with Mondani. And I think, a lot of younger people are really drawn to somebody who will stand up to things that they're seeing from this administration. So I think really what that poll shows me is that Gavin has gone from being, really hurt by that ridiculous podcast he started earlier this year to really rebounding and becoming a very strong favorite. And again, it's very early.
Sure.
His ridiculous podcast that he started this year.
Did it go anywhere? We know someone who started a podcast, so they came out fighting at the.
They came out. Well, as we always say, podcasting ain't easy, and the hardest thing about podcasting is being absolutely consistent. Well, I did look it up last week when we were chatting on the show, and he did do something not too long ago, like a week or so ago. So he's still doing it every once in a while, but it's not as like news catching as like when he sat down with Charlie Kirk or Steve Bannon. It's more now he's like interviewing like Hillary Clinton or Bill Clinton and people like that.
Oh,
Like
I thought it
he's
was
not.
supposed to be the people that he disagreed with, but okay.
That's what I thought it was. What does he always say? An open hand, not a closed fist. That was his whole thing of like, I want to sit there and talk to people who I disagree with. And the past couple, half a dozen or so, have been all people that he absolutely agrees with. Okay, so a couple of things to take from that. Like I said, it is very early. I agree with that gentleman, Scott Wiener's supposed dad. We're just saying that because it sounds like him. It is very, very early. A lot of things can change. I know we've said on this show, I personally believe that Trump has had a rough first year back in office. It's been a little rough. The economy's kind of been slow. People are getting really upset about affordability. I did hear that he is going to give a national address tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So there's that, but things could turn around very quickly. Like the economy can all of a sudden start booming. All of a sudden things start looking better. Then all of a sudden this administration and this platform looks way more, I guess more palpable to more people. And it's a winning platform. So it is very early. And this is something that I think that maybe pollsters like him are not really seeing is, you've said this as well, Trump's not running in 2028. Even though he jokes about he's going to run for a third term, he's not running in 2028. It looks like right now it's probably going to be J.D. Vance. I would imagine maybe Marco Rubio throws his hat in the ring. But either way, you're not running against Trump. So you can do all these kind of cringy posts and videos and stuff like that and mimic and imitate Trump all you want, but you're not running against him in 2028. And you're going to have to do a hard pivot against either Marco Rubio and JD Vance. And to their credit, Marco Rubio is very intelligent, very good on his feet, very smart. So is JD Vance. Like, they are both not Donald Trump in the sense of their style, their finesse. Like, I always say JD Vance is the more palpable version of MAGA that people, independents, maybe moderates kind of look at and go, okay, like I like that version of MAGA. When I hear JD Vance explain MAGA and America First, it makes more sense to me and I'm in favor of it rather than Donald Trump, who could be a little bit bombastic. So you're not running against Donald Trump. And Kamala, who knows? she'll slowly start to gather her support. There's some articles that I do want to talk about. Is there anything you want to add before we jump into some of these articles?
Not in particular, no.
Okay, then we will just jump right in. Let's see. All right, so this is from the Gateway Pundit. Report Kamala Harris playing another presidential campaign. I like the first line. The humiliation of the 2024 presidential campaign clearly wasn't enough for Kamala Harris, who lost in a landslide to Donald Trump, has reportedly made clear to potential 2028 rivals that she's working to keep another White House campaign viable. Despite worries from party leaders and donors that she can't win, Harris remains, excuse me, at or near the top of 2028 Democratic primary polls. She also has strong support amongst Black voters, the most critical voting bloc in most recent Democratic presidential primaries, which, you know, if you're talking about places like South Carolina, very important. That's one of the early states. So getting South Carolina always seems to be like a bellwether for a candidate, whether they can reach out and get that vote. After lying low the first part of this year, then embarking on a 2024 focused book tour, Harris made several moves this week that many Democrats see as the beginnings of a 2028 campaign. They went to the DNC, and there's an article about that as well. Let me pull that up. California's role in shaping the fate of the Democratic Party and combating Trump on full display. So there was a meeting recently of the DNC.
Why did we go?
California policy. We weren't invited, so we didn't get the invitation. That would have been fun, though. California policies on divisive issues such as providing expanded access to government-sponsored healthcare, aiding undocumented immigrants, and supporting LGBTQ plus rights continually serve as a Rorschach test for the nation's polarized electorate, providing comfort to progressives and ammunition for Republican attack ads. This cracked me up. Quote, California is like your cool cousin that comes for the holidays, who is intriguing and glamorous, but who might not fit in with the family year-round, said Elizabeth Ashford, a veteran Democratic strategist who worked for Governor Jerry Brown and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Harris when she was the state's attorney general. I think if you have to describe yourself as the cool cousin, you're not the cool cousin. But I think that's what a lot of people on the left think they are. They think they're the cool cousin that is so cultured and so wonderful that they don't fit in with the rest of your stodgy, old, bigoted family.
We do have a lot of arrogance here, California. We like forget that the rest of the United States exists and everything. You know, even when we get rain, we act like we're the first state to experience rain. It's just we do that.
Live in our little bubble. We do live in our little bubble where we think everything revolves around us. Critics, Trump chief among them, paint the state as a dystopian hellhole littered with homeless encampments and lawlessness and plagued by high taxes and even higher cost of living. All true things. Let's see. It goes on to talk about Newsom, who championed Proposition 50, basked in that victory when he strode through the hotel's corridors at the DNC meeting that day, the day before, stopping every few feet to talk to committee members, shake their hands, and take selfies. Quote, there's a sense of optimism here, Newsom said. Article goes on, quote, I'm a very proud Californian. It's a state that's just not about growth. It's about inclusion, the governor said before ticking off a list of California initiatives, including low-priced insulin, which we had to spend a whole bunch of money on, higher minimum wages, which is killing jobs. Quote, so much of the policy that's coming out of the state of California promotes not just promise, but policy direction that I think is really important for our party. So two of them facing off at the DNC meeting, talking about their positions. So what are your thoughts? While I check out what's going on in the chat. By the way, chat, thank you for tuning in and joining us tonight. Let us know where you're tuning in from so we can give you a shout out. Also, if you weren't here and you just joined, we did release a little Christmas present for you guys. Click on the members only link that's pinned here in YouTube. We're giving away 2 weeks free to join the Telegram. Keep up with us during Christmas and New Year's. So anyway, your thoughts.
You and I love California. Like, we both live here. We do love it. And but we get so tired of I hope California falls off into the ocean, that whole narrative, because we know that there is so many great things, but Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris haven't really done anything positive for California.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, California is wonderful despite what they've done to it. It's not gonna stay wonderful if we continue to give them a political office. And, I don't wanna go off on a tangent on why we shouldn't elect them, but I just feel like neither of them should be elected. That both of them, in my eyes, are such failures. And, yeah, we California, we do try to act like we are the cool kid. I have 3 sisters and 2 of them live here. One of them lives in Oklahoma, and we're always like, "Why? Why do you live there? California's way better." And, there is so much good about California, but we need better leadership, better legislators, and we definitely need a better president. And I'm not even gonna sit here and defend Donald Trump, but going forward, we need somebody who really has shown true leadership, has done positive things. And Kamala and Gavin are just not it, in my opinion. But I guess I wouldn't mind seeing them fight. Like, I feel like there must be behind the scenes beef if they're both willing to go up against each other, because typically we know somebody will step out and say, "No, I'm going to support this person. I'm going to support this person." And so it's interesting that Gavin was the number one Democrat nominee. Not that he's officially nominated, but he was in the lead, and now Kamala Harris has started talking about it, and it seems like her polling is slightly higher than Newsom's, and so I don't know that they would run on the same ticket, though they can't, right?
Um, they could. There's something about the electors. I can't remember technically. Like, if you're an elector, you can't cast a vote for a vice president. If you're an elector, you can't cast a vote for the vice president and president if you're from that state.
Okay.
So I don't. Yeah, it's some archaic rule about they can't run from the same state. But I don't know why
Yes.
you'd want to. Um, I mean, California has enough ammunition for attack ads anyway. I imagine 2 Californians is already more than enough. So they'd probably pander and go get someone from like the Midwest or somebody like from the Rust Belt, whether it's Josh Shapiro or somebody like that. Who knows? Josh Shapiro might run as well. I think there's still a slew of like these moderate Democrats in these red states that are governors who are probably going to jump in and run because they're going to show I can be a blue governor in a red state, reach across, common sense, blah, 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 all that stuff. There's still a lot of people who haven't jumped in. I mean, they keep showing AOC. Like, AOC hasn't said anything about wanting to run. Pete Buttigieg has said nothing about wanting to run. They're just kind of pulling names and pulling people like, well, who's the best so far of these people? So it really is like, again, none of these people have declared. It's way too early for
Right.
them to declare that they're running for president. Um, and I don't think outside of Kamala Harris whispers that she might run for president, nobody has said they're going to run for president. You can kind of tell they're all running for president. So there is a story that I want to share as well about because that commentator talked about, well, Gavin Newsom is surging, and all of a sudden he surged so much recently in the past couple months. There was a new survey from the Public Policy Institute of California finds that both the governor, a likely presidential candidate, and a heavily Democratic legislature surged to majority support in the final months of this year. Politico finally reports, this is from California Globe. Quote, the approval jump comes after Newsom and fellow Democrats championed a gerrymandered new House map explicitly to counter Trump in next year's midterms. They claim that his favorability rating jumped 10 percentage points over the course of the year from 46% in June to 46 to 56 this month. The legislative standing improved by 8 points in the same time period, reaching a 53% majority. Well, this is all California, so 53 is kind of sad for a state that's super majority Democrat. While the media is slobbering all over the latest PPIC poll showing 56% approval for Gavin Newsom, a 10 percentage point increase, they neglect to tell the full story that polling is meant to shape public opinion and not report it. The 10-point increase is from June's 46%, but what about October? Newsom's approval was only 54%. Media is conspicuously omitting this figure, so in reality, he's had a marginal 2% jump since the last poll. And every one of these PPIC polls, they survey at least 64% Democrats.
Surging.
Surging 2%. It's at least 64% Democrats, 32 to 35% Republicans. So oversampling Democrats to Republicans, it's a 2% bump over the past month or so. So not as huge of a jump. And here are the top issues chosen when asked about California: cost of living, economy, housing costs, government in general, problems with elected officials, political parties. About 7 in 10 Californians, 71%, think the state will have bad economic times in the next 12 months. Economic pessimism is widespread, with more than 6 in 10 across parties, regions, and demographic groups expecting bad economic times. This is more poll results. Nearly all Californians see housing costs and availability as a problem. The view is housing affordability is a big problem, is widely held by 6 to 10 or more across parties, regions, and demographic groups. More than 4 in 10 Californians say the cost of housing places a financial strain on them and their families. 25 say by a lot, 20% say by a little. So even though he's surging in the polls, the reality is Californians are still very, very concerned about where the state is going. And a majority of Californians are very worried about where the state is going, especially economic wise. 7 out of 10 believe that it's headed in the wrong direction. So, I mean, people are going to like Gavin Newsom if you hate Trump and you like that he's pushing back against Trump. But these are still issues that he's going to have to deal with when he runs to be president. He's going to have to run with a bad economy, unaffordability, and especially now when the Democrats are pushing this affordability thing. This is the whole new attack line by Democrats is affordability. Gavin Newsom's the worst person to advertise anything about affordability because nothing in California is really affordable. Everything keeps getting raised. To pick up your garbage, SDG&E I saw is going to raise your rate in the next year. It's just nothing's affordable. So the underlying metrics and polling of Californians is not boding well for Gavin Newsom. And for that fact, Kamala Harris, who is also a Californian. So sure, they'll say Gavin Newsom surged in the polling and they're all fawning over this new rise of Gavin Newsom. It's still super, super early and he could burn himself out really quickly. Something else could happen. I saw someone in the chat say he's still got 1 year left to ruin California. So as if he hasn't done a good enough job now, he's really going to
a lot can happen.
Bury it. A lot can happen. So there's a lot that can happen between now and then.
His stance moves are getting more and more exaggerated. We went from it was like this to now it's this.
Now they're getting wider.
It'd be really fun to watch. He's doing yoga moves. It's crazy.
Someone checked in from Monterey, California. What's up, Monterey? That's way up there in North California.
Monterey's beautiful.
Someone said, I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree. Yep. That's the sound we just played. So
that's exactly.
So it looks like right now, in this moment, we are facing a Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, Democratic primary showdown. I don't know. She dropped out in the last primary she had to run in. She didn't get one primary vote. It'll be interesting to see if she does a little bit better this time around. I don't know. But either way, people who might be donating to Gavin Newsom, if they're more inclined to donate to Kamala Harris, might make things a little bit harder. But Gavin Newsom has no problem finding money wherever he needs to. So any thoughts before we
can carry on.
Next topic.
I know we're getting close on the hour, so
okay. All right. Last story, which a little bit lighter note to end the year on because this is the last show. And again, if you just joined the show, click the link above. We are giving away 2 weeks free to the members only Telegram because we will be off for 2 weeks. So we will still be active in the Telegram. So please make sure you go check that out and consider staying around after the 2 weeks. So I came across this article. It's not really political, but again, let's end the year on a kind of lighter note. Let me pull this up real quick. Where is it? I should have had this ready beforehand. There we go. This is from the San Francisco Chronicle. California stereotypes are real, and this extremely detailed data proves it. So this is a fun little graph of what Californians do every minute of their day. They spend most of their time sleeping, and a whole bunch of that. We're going to go through them little by little. So just let me know when you want to stop if you have any questions.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question.
Let's see.
I'm going to ask now, but I want you to answer
Sure.
after, because you're a California transplant. So I want to know if this was this is a multiple part question. Like, was this true of you before? Is it true of you now? Has it become more like do you, and again, this isn't, as they even mentioned in this article, it's certainly not perfect. And, you know, it was 3,000 people out of 40 million people in California. But I want to know if you've seen yourself fitting more into this, what they say. So you go through it and then answer that after the fact.
Okay. That's a good question. Let's see. This is a comparison. Californians do more of personal care, such as sleeping, education, eating and drinking, household activities, sports, exercise and recreation, consumer purchases, caring for and helping household members, telephone calls, and traveling, professional personal care services. They do less of, this is interesting, volunteer activities. So for as virtuous as Californians pretend that they are, because they're so virtuous, they actually don't do a lot of volunteer activities, which kind of makes sense for California, the way the government's set up. They just want the government to take care of everybody. So I'm surprised. That's not surprising that they don't do a lot of volunteer activities. Religious and spiritual activities, they do less of than the rest of the United States. Caring for and helping non-household members. So top three things. Californians are not as religious. They are not as caring for people who are not family members. And they don't volunteer a lot. So
we sound awesome. See, we're selfish.
Yeah.
We're arrogant. We're in our own bubble.
Yeah, kind of like you said. You said that before about how we kind of think everything revolves around us. And that kind of proves it, that we're kind of selfish, these Californians. As I said, Californians love to sleep. We spend roughly 7 more minutes sleeping per day than the rest of the country, getting an average of more than 9 hours daily. 9 hours.
I wish I got
Who's
9
sleeping?
hours.
9 hours is a ton of, I would feel sick after 9 hours. Like if I sleep close to 8 hours, I feel groggy the next day. Which suggests the meditation and melatonin gummies that many of us love are working. That's a lot of time. Let us know in the chat. Do you sleep anywhere close to 9 hours?
I'm a horrible sleeper. Horrible. Always have been. Magnesium does help. But I actually, I was at my hair appointment today and I texted my husband. I'm like, hey, I actually slept for like 4 hours straight last night. Like for me, that is the world's biggest deal. So
I am I'm a stickler about my sleep. I try to get at least 7 hours. If goal is like 7.5 every night during the week. 9 is a ton of sleep. I want to know what these people are doing with their lives if they get 9 hours of sleep.
yeah, a little behind the scenes when Phil and I jump off, like when the podcast ends, we're both still on video screen, and he's like, well, gotta go to bed. I'm like, bye.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm an
we're
early
every
riser,
week,
so
like, no, it's past my bedtime.
yeah. And I do this for you folks. I stay up past my bedtime to do this podcast. Californians work less and shop more. They spend about 8% more time shopping than others, not including groceries, food, and gas. Though we also spend slightly more time on those tasks as well. The bottom line, we're prepared to shop till we drop.
What are we buying? What are y'all buying? Tell me what you're buying.
Probably Amazon.
Yeah, but what?
I feel like Amazon.
I mean, I
Food
buy
ads,
Amazon like
stuff we
every
don't need.
day.
Someone says my wife gets 9 a night. Well, lucky her.
Nice.
9 hours is great. Californians aren't hunting, they're hiking, with plenty of hiking trails and grassy parks at our doorstep, not to mention the unbeatable California sunshine. It's no wonder we're all about an active lifestyle. While we spend on average roughly half a minute less hunting than our peers, that's not surprising for a state that hates the Second Amendment and guns. We make that up by spending almost a whole minute more hiking than the rest of the country and almost 3 minutes more walking. Well,
I'm not doing either.
that also makes sense. I think that makes sense because it's nice and people can walk all year round. So why not?
Yeah, that's true.
Of the Californians polled, around 1 in 5 logged playing a sport or exercising in their day, 4 percentage points more than outside the state. 4.1 4.1 percentage points higher for walking, weightlifting 0.8%. So other things that we don't do as much: boating, golfing, playing soccer. That's surprising. Fishing. And fishing seems like that'd be a great hobby to do here in California. There's so many beautiful places to go fishing, but guess we
Uh,
don't like fishing.
my dad is like deep sea fisherman, but they tend to go to Mexico. Like
Mm.
my uncle passed earlier this year, but he owned a fishing boat for like a giant fishing boat forever. And so my dad would always go fishing on it like several times a year and take a bunch of my nephews. He didn't he I mentioned I have all sisters. Not that we're not allowed to fish, but my dad is very old fashioned and he won't fish with women. So he'll take, now that he has like a bunch of grandsons, he'll take them all deep sea fishing and any son-in-laws that want to go.
Mhm.
And and they go down to Mexico though. So I I don't know. I mean,
I
that's
can
I'm
see that.
talking about one person here, but I'm wondering if that factored in. But again, they polled people like, are you fishing? I don't think they had to say where they're fishing. So
Yeah.
just
I know a lot of people. I mean, here in Southern California, it makes sense to go down to Mexico. I mean, it's just Baja seafood is pretty damn good seafood. So I imagine there's a lot of people who go down there to Mexico. Somebody said I would think the hiking would be significantly more, while hunting would be much lower. Yeah, actually, that's a good point. I would think hiking would be way higher since so many people can do it around the clock, like all year round.
we have a
But
lot of places,
uh,
there's beach hiking and then there's mountain and even desert. Like we have so many just here in Orange County, we have so many places that are
mhm.
great for hiking, and I know a lot of people who enjoy that. Like I said, I don't, but, um, yeah, you would think there would be more because I feel like people actually come here to hike. Like, I feel like a lot of people visit California and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna, go visit here, here, and here. We're gonna hike." Like, why would you come
Mhm.
here to hike? Not a hiker, but yeah, I would think.
Plenty
I agree with
places.
that statement.
Californians hate doing nothing. We can't just sit still. On average, we spend a little more than a minute less relaxing and thinking per day than the rest of the country. Instead of sitting idle, we tend to fill our free time with social activities and the arts.
Or sleep.
Californians on average, or sleep. Californians on average spend more time than those outside of the state visiting museums, going to movies, listening to music, and attending or hosting parties. Okay. Yeah. That's, I mean, there's something, maybe I'll get to this afterwards and I'll explain my take on this. Um, so this is attending and hosting parties, listening and playing music, attending museums, attending movies. Can't remember the last time I actually went and saw a movie because there's just been nothing good to see. I think the last movie, gosh, what was the last movie I actually saw? Was it like a Spider-Man movie or something? I can't even remember. Socializing and communicating with others, not as much as relaxing and thinking. We do less than the rest of the country. Less TV and religion, more education. For a group that prides ourselves on physical appearance, it seems that we care just as much about what's on the inside. Californians log about 9 minutes more of education related activities, such as taking classes, doing research, or completing homework, than the rest of the United States. In order to carve out time for this, it appears that Californians opt to minimize other hobbies. On average, Californians spend 18 minutes less watching television and movies per day and 2 minutes less on religious activities. However, that time may be made up for by staring at a different screen, as we spend around 4 minutes more a day using computer for leisure. I feel like that's a lot of people. A lot of people are paying attention on their computer, on their phones. They're not really paying attention to, they're not sitting down and watching TV. Like, does anybody sit down and watch, in the chat can let me know, does anybody actually sit down and go, oh, this show is on at 8. I have to get in front of the TV by 8 o'clock. Does anybody do that anymore? Or do they just wait for it to come out on streaming the next day or something? I can't remember the last time I watched like a live TV event outside of sports, like the World Series or Super Bowl or something like that. I don't
Even when I watch
sit down.
TV, I'm not paying attention to it. It's background noise.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know. I can kind of get into a series, but I'm really only halfway into it. And scrolling my phone or literally reading political news, reading political news on X while there's like a TV show playing, and I'll kind of catch something going on in the TV show.
Yeah.
And like
So to
I
answer
can't
your
remember the last time I saw a movie in theaters. Like it's been years.
Yeah, I honestly can't even remember the last movie. Um, and I can't remember the last time I sat down for a live TV event outside of sports that you had to watch at that time that you can stream elsewhere. Like all the shows I know are all streaming. Like Stranger Things is streaming. Like all the shows come
Right.
out, they're on streaming.
Right. I'm on Netflix. Sorry, go on with your answer.
Someone said, "Not me. I watch YouTube almost exclusively." Yeah, I mean, stuff on demand is the way to go for people now.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, as a transplant who's been here for 11 years now in California, plus the 4 I was in college, so 15 years of my life have been spent in California. Would I say I've adapted more of these activities? Uh, I would I would think so. I think the attending museums, places like that, I think, and this is just my personal view, is people are more likely to go out and do things like go to museums, go to art exhibits, go to places where they have to get out of the house because there's good weather all year round. So it's when you're somewhere like the East Coast, like right now, and it's 19 degrees and there's a wind chill, the last thing you want to do is bundle up and go to a museum and walk around in a big heavy winter coat and walk around a museum. Nobody wants to do that. So I think maybe that has something to do with it, is that you can go to a museum all year round. It's nice and you're like, oh, it's a beautiful day. Let's go do something. The activities, I would believe exercise, personal care, taking care of yourself as well. That's like a California cultural thing, I think, of like being healthy, making sure you're eating the right foods, making sure it's organic, it's not full of pesticides, stuff like that. I think that's a California thing as well that most of the country probably doesn't really adhere to as much as here in California.
But back to
So,
the weather, we also can grow so much more that because year round we can grow things. Yes, they have greenhouses, but
yeah.
we actually have the ability to grow these things. And so I think you even have a little vegetable garden or something. I know I have a bunch of fruit trees. It's like we can literally walk into our backyards and get fresh ingredients and fresh foods. You're
Mhm.
craving something and you just walk 10 feet out back and you're eating it.
Or someone who has an avocado tree
Or
or a
you know
lemon tree or
someone
something like that. Yeah,
because
it's or you're in a place where they have farmers markets literally year round. So it's like you
yes,
have no excuse not to go get fresh produce from a farmer that is close by.
right.
So yeah, that's as well. Good weather culturally. We are very abundant. We're very lucky to have access to a lot of good produce. Um, the health conscious thing I could see. I think that's also a weather thing as well. I honestly think that this sounds really vain, but I think when you live in a place where the weather is nice all year round, you can't escape. Like we used to joke on the East Coast, is you could put on like your little winter pudge because you could wear a sweater, you could wear a jacket, like you could cover it up a little bit. And then like as the weather got warmer, you could get back to working out and look better. I think here when it's especially in places like San Diego, it's 70 degrees all year round. You kind of have to look good all year round. You have an incentive to look good year all round because there's nowhere like you're not wearing big heavy winter jackets. It's not the winter where people don't care.
Yeah. Our weather has been
Um,
in the 70s, and I'm wearing this sweater, which like the sun is going down, but I'm actually really warm. Sitting here right now,
I
and I'm
know I'm
like,
sitting here. I'm sitting
I
here in a
should.
sweater, and like the high today was 68. So, jokes on me. I guess I've adapted to San Diego weather. Uh, so yeah, I think culturally, the weather, all that stuff, that contributes to why Californians are the way they are. Religious, I'm not surprised that we don't spend as much time on religion as possible. More people go to college and education. Um, Although I think religion is on its way back. I think there's a trend of people coming back to religion, especially after COVID. I know we're kind of over time right now. People who are still hanging out with us right now, you're the real ones. You hang out until the end. You love hearing us chit chat about this stuff. Um, at my local parish, there were about 12 or 13 new catechumens who want to enter the Catholic Church. So I was like, that's good. It seems like the numbers are going in the right direction. And it also seems like a lot of people in their 20s are coming into the Catholic Church. So I think there's going to be a boom. And this is actually worldwide. There is a boom in people going back to the Catholic Church and finding religion again. This isn't a whole thing about Catholicism. That's not the point of this, but it's the last show of the year. So what the heck? So who knows? Maybe religion's on its way back in California. Maybe more people are going back into church and going back to whatever they choose. And that's a good thing for Californians. So, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that those results, that we are very vain. A lot of people, someone made a great comment that we farm our altruism out to the government because we believe the government can do everything. We don't want to help homeless people. Let the government help homeless people.
Right. Yeah.
Let the government help the poor. We don't want to help the poor specifically. It's almost like California doesn't believe in private charity. They just believe the government should take care of everything.
Which kind of
So
goes
that's
to
not
the fact that
surprising
if
at all.
we're like less people are going to church, they're not learning that as like a moral ground that it's our responsibility, not the governors, not the government's. It's we're supposed to have the personal responsibility of caring for the poor and the widows and the orphans. But instead, we've given that over to the government. We're like, no, you go ahead and rob me of however much you think you need to pay yourself first, and then take care of the poor, the needy.
Yeah, in my parish particularly, there's plenty of opportunities to be charitable, whether it's volunteer activities, which Californians supposedly don't do, whether it's to donate to local homeless shelters who need stuff around Christmas time, blankets, gloves, sleeping bags, all that stuff.
Maybe we haven't
That's
mandated
your
enough mandatory volunteer hours to our high school students. Because
maybe,
that's part of
maybe
their graduation requirement is that they have to get so many hours, mandatory volunteer hours a year. Isn't that nationwide? I don't remember because I thought Bill Clinton proposed that. But maybe we need more.
wasn't part of my high school, but I went to a private high school, so we didn't have to listen to whatever the government said.
Okay.
Someone said, chose God over the vaccine in 2022 and only grew closer to God after losing my career for not getting the vaccine. I think a lot of people did come back to church because of COVID and all of that. I think that people wanted to get back to something real and a higher power. So I'm not surprised that there's probably more people going back to religion after COVID,
Yeah.
especially here in California when they tried to take literally everything from you, whether it's your
Right.
family, your social life, your job, your career, everything. They tried to take everything from you.
And then you suddenly felt
Um,
empty. So yeah, you were seeking something more. You wanted to be a part of something.
Someone commented the mayoral race in LA is going to be interesting in 26. That is going to be interesting. Karen Bass is running again. She's already announced her reelection.
We'll definitely be talking about
I don't know.
that.
Definitely going to be talking about. We got a lot to talk about in 26. I mean, we could take a minute and look forward to 26 before we finish out this last show of the year. Also, remember, if you haven't already, go check out the link that's pinned. Please go join us in the Telegram. Again, 2 weeks free. Merry Christmas.
I
While
better
we're
see you all
gone.
there. I better Chuck and I'm gonna come and mess. No, I'm just kidding.
Camille's going to be looking. She's going to be like, I want to see all you people in the chat in there. So
I'm gonna block you from this
26.
show. I'm gonna be like, you didn't join our Telegram within 24 hours. Just blocked. We don't mind.
Shame.
Very much kidding.
Shame. 26, we got a lot to talk about. Obviously, the gubernatorial race, which is going to be exciting. LA mayoral race. There's going to be a ton of propositions. I did see a report. I didn't verify it, whether I think the voter ID got enough signatures to get on the ballot.
Oh, I haven't heard that yet. I know it's close, or like last I saw, it was very close.
I saw some I didn't verify whether or not that was true, but I did see that they hit their number. The idea is you want to go past that number, so in case there's duplicates or things they throw out. But I think as of now, I think they've reached the number for voter ID to be on the ballot for next year. And that is something that, when polled, Californians across party lines are actually in favor of voter ID. So it will be interesting to see
It'll
how
be
that
interesting to
comes
see
out.
if it passes, and then if they even implement it, because cough cough Prop 36.
Prop 36. it'll be interesting. They'll be like, oh, well, you guys didn't include financing it, so we're just not going to fund it, and we hate you, so we're not going to do it. Sorry.
We hate you.
We hate you. That's how I feel about Sacramento and Gavin Newsom, people are like that. Pretty much most politicians in the state. I feel like they're just like, we hate you, so shut up. You did your nice little proposition. That's cute, but we hate you. All right. Any other final thoughts before we sign off for 2025?
Just thank you once again, everyone, for being here and with another year. Can't believe we're coming up on another year over, and we'll have next year, big election year. We'll have a lot happening. We'll have a lot to discuss, and hopefully get a lot of great guests on. Join the Telegram because we absolutely want to keep in touch with you guys over this next 2 weeks. We're on Instagram as well, of course. We're on X, all the things. And I hope that everyone has happy holidays. I Merry Christmas too, but I know a lot of you, I know there's Hanukkah. And then when I say holidays, of course, there's New Year's Eve and all that. And so, be safe, have fun. I hope that you guys all have a great ending and beginning of a new year.
Yeah. 26 is going to be crazy. It's going to be a lot. I'm sure we might end up at one of the conventions and might do a new live stream like we've done in the past. Yes, we will get a lot of the gubernatorial candidates on. A lot of people have been asking about like Chad Bianco. Yes, Chad Bianco will likely be on the show next year. He was a guest previously, so I don't see why he wouldn't come on again. Steve Hilton will probably come on again. Other people who are running, assembly people. It's not just the governor. Remember, there's assemblymen, state senators, stuff like that. Also very important that we need to talk to. A lot of people running for different positions. So we will do our best. It's going to be a crazy, hectic 2026. I'm looking forward to it being a great big year. So I guess with that, thanks to everyone for tuning in. We will see you all in 2026. Oh, and make sure, as we always say, as we sign off every night, the best thing you can do to support the show is 100% free. Share it with somebody who you think will get a kick out of it or get something out of it or learn something from it. So with that, we will see you all next year. Bye, everybody. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.